Oh, I guess I am recording. Okay, welcome everybody. I guess more people are popping on. Today is awesome. We have gone through kind of the mindset, the avatar, getting to what your core values are, how you're going to approach this. Yesterday was down in the weeds about technology and all of the things you have to think about to get the website up and running. And hopefully some of that'll sink in and it's okay. In a week from now, you're like, oh, that's what he was talking about. That's why I was supposed to know that. And you can go back and refer to that. I want to I'm sorry, I'm just reading the chat. I just want to re-encourage everybody to sign up and request one-to-one business consulting with the SBDC. Today is really getting it so you know what your site, your core values are, you know how to build a site. Now it's getting people there, telling your story, figuring out the marketing side of things, how to showcase your brand, how you want to be perceived by the public visually on social media, how are you going to get the word out there and start selling products. And Erin Thiem is a fantastic blogger, social media guru. She's taught classes in Sierra Commons for years now, really knows the ins and outs of a lot of different platforms. Also, Erin is one of our Rebound consultants. So she will have limited time, but is available to work with you one-on-one. Erin and I discussed today that she's going to stay high to mid-level, but if there's questions about how do I, change the icon of my social media profile or that kind of stuff, which could be pretty mystifying for some people. Understandably, there's lots of nooks and crannies of social media. Then I think it'd be best if you're like, hey, Erin, can we set up an hour to meet? I got a ton of little questions like that. What is tagging? How do I, get a good hashtag set? That kind of stuff. Maybe she can work with you more specifically. And then later on today, Adam Trowbridge is going to join us, and he's going to pop in around 9:15, hang out for some of Erin's presentation, and then jump in and do his presentation. So I'm going to make Erin the host here, and be sure to use chat and ask questions. And Erin, if I just keep on rolling, and if I need to interrupt you for questions, I'll just try to do that gracefully.
Sure.
So take it away, Erin.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining us. I got the opportunity to do this presentation with Robert in Sierra Commons earlier this spring, and I took a few moments actually to review the presentation that I put together initially, which was very much stuck in the shutdown. And I don't know when I get to reopen. Did Robert mention what I do? I own the Outside Inn and the In-Town Campground here in Nevada City. So I'm not in the e-commerce business per se, but I'm definitely very passionate about marketing and have spent a lot of time and energy in terms of promoting our community and the experiences that my customers have when they come to Nevada City and what they can get, like if they go camping or if they come and stay at the motel. So I definitely understand that concept. And so as Robert said, I'm going to stay kind of high level, give you a few details about how I look at the storytelling as an integral part of our business and our success. So I'm going to just click on my presentation here and start at the beginning. Okay, so once again, as I said, my name is Erin and I own the Outside Inn and the In-Town Campground. This is going to be about visual storytelling. As I said, something I'm super passionate about. I view the world in a very visual way. And I recognize as other small business owners, not everyone else is going to have a photographic eye, but I think it's important to be able to look at some of the content that you are putting out there from a visual aesthetic. Social media is how I use it as an outlet and a tool to express what I see and love in our community. I tell this story to a lot of people about when I took over the Outside In, which was just under 10 years ago. I grew up in Nevada City, and I managed the motel, which used to be owned by my mom. And then I went away and lived in New Zealand for 5 years. And when I returned, I hadn't lived in Nevada County for 5 years. I hadn't done all the things that all my customers were asking about. And so I really took it as an opportunity to sort of revisit some of the places that I had been to growing up or earlier in my lifetime, and sort of document them as a way to not only learn for myself, but I'll be able to share that with our customers, because literally every week they go, where should I go out to eat? Where should I go for a hike? Where should I go to the river? So creating content for me was a great tool, not only for my own education, but to help share with our customers. And I like taking pictures, and it was a great way to sort of harness both my creative energy and my business needs. One of the things that I think—
Hey, Erin, I'm going to interject here if you don't mind. One of the strategies she uses, and she just kind of like, she loves her community, and this is some of the ways she's doing it. That's really key to the modern way of selling and conducting business, not just selling, is that even if your business is international, there's still a community out there. And there's so much, the people that bubble to the top are the people that are really open and caring, and was the tides rise, high tides rise all boats. Like, if that attitude, people are like, oh sure, I'll put your thing in my email. I'll send out your business to my people because you're a good business with good core values that align with mine. I don't look at us as competitors. I look at us as partners. Let's do this together. Mm-hmm. Back in the old days, like the .com days, for example, I got this idea and I'm not going to tell anybody because they're going to steal it. And then I'm going to do this startup, and then I'm going to launch and I'm going to dominate. That doesn't work anymore. And so it's social media, it's sharing, it's part of the community, it's rising up. And that, Erin, that's, you've really taught me how to do that well. And I just wanted to pause there because it's so important to your business. If you think you're going to just do a lot of posting and people are going to come and buy stuff, it's going to take more than that. It's going to be part, integrate, embed yourself in part of the broader community, and that's key. So that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Robert. Well, I think it's easy in my business because, I mean, if you take the Outside In, for example, people are going to come and stay there, but they're going to leave the motel and they're going to eat and they're going to shop and they're going to recreate, or, post-pandemic, they're going to go see a live concert or go to an event. So it's not difficult to think outside of the framework of my actual business. And that's something that I understand to the success of our business and how that works into our social media. So thank you, Robert, for drawing attention to that, which to me seems obvious, but I get that it's sometimes good to remind. But okay, so back to my slideshow, telling a story during a pandemic. This photo I took while we were all shut down. Obviously, there's still cars on the street, but I really felt like stopping was a good representation, both visually and for what we were. I told people that our closure in March was sort of like coming to a whiplash, screeching halt. And so I wanted a photo that would represent still that I care about our community, and yet I'm literally stopping. And now I'm back in motion, but it's definitely still difficult and painful for all sorts of things. So one of the things that I thought is important to put into this presentation is to remind businesses that you do need to share with your customers how COVID is affecting your business. Because I think that connecting with them on a real and personal level is really important. How to be vulnerable and authentic is difficult, and I definitely would say that it's something that I continue to work on and practice on. This particular picture, when I did share it, I actually used the analogy of the whiplash in the comments and engaging with the customers, because, and I like the person who's response back, like, it must be hard to go from 100 miles an hour to stopping. And so it was a good opportunity to engage in a conversation with the customers about what we were going through at that time. Reflecting on your marketing mission, I felt like Barry's presentation did a really great job of honing in on core values. And one thing you could take for another layer of that statement and idea is thinking about your mission statement. As Robert mentioned, The Outside In has had a blog. I have taken a bit of a hiatus from the blog in this transitional window just because things were closed, but it's still something that's been a large part of my job and my marketing strategy. And one of the things that I feel has made it so successful over the almost 10 years that I've been doing it is having a mission statement. So it's very specific in terms of what I talk about, what I write about, what my core values are. And anytime I ever drift aside or have a doubt or try to figure out what I'm going to talk about, I can always go back to the mission statement, and that has helped and served me over the years. And how to continually engage with your audience. Once again, I posted a picture of a stop, and I got into a great conversation with our customers about how closing our businesses was difficult and how that was challenging on so many different levels. Let's go back into here. So as I said, I've been doing the Outside In's blog for 10 years, and a few tips that I've learned along the way, as I just mentioned, the strong mission statement, regular engagement. I think that if you are coming up with a strategy for your marketing and you want to figure out how to engage, coming up with a schedule that serves you is really important, not only for engagement, but a consistent schedule. So I always tell people, pick a schedule that works for you. If it's once a month, that's great. If it's once a week, that's great. If it's once a quarter, that's fine. You'll know your business and the seasons of your business better than I will, but whatever schedule you pick, be consistent on it. Strong visuals, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples of things that I got excited about, are obviously really important. But if you're building your marketing plan, these are a couple of key takeaways that I would certainly jot down and can come back to as you're trying to come up and strategize with some of the things you want to use. Knowing your audience, developing your voice, and being authentic to you. As Robert said, I care, and I do think of our community, and I think that that's probably been another key aspect of the success of my social media.
If she told her.
So I do feel like those are all really important and fun things that you can definitely keep in mind when you're.
They might have tried to work something out.
About who you want to be. How do I go in and unmute people?
Go to work in a Range Rover, so imagine
how do I go?
Pamela, if you could go ahead and mute yourself, that would be great.
You have
Thank
a shitty job where nobody gives a fuck about you.
Sorry, I'm not.
Erin, you could mute Pamela.
I'm not on the right screen for that. Sorry, Robert.
Oh, she's muted. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, let's see here. Serving your audience by providing them value. So one of the things that I think is also really helpful is that knowing what your audience is going to need. So as I said earlier, that my customers want to know where to go out to eat or what to do. And so one of the things that I've been able to do is creating content and media and marketing to help serve them. Not only does it serve the business, but it helps serve their needs as well. And then using your platform to answer the questions your audience should be asking, but maybe don't. And I think that that's been really helpful in the post-COVID reopening, because obviously the situation keeps changing. And I think about, like, both of our businesses have swimming pools, and people were like, are they open? And we were like, we don't know, we're waiting. And then we did get to open them, and then the rules changed. And so I have to keep changing and educating my customers about the, like, okay, great, our swimming pool's open, we have no pool furniture, so please bring a chair. And they're not gonna ask, is your pool open? Do I have to bring a chair? So these are all just little examples of things that are helpful. As Robert mentioned, I've used visuals to help tell the story. And one of the things that I think worked really well for our business at the In-Town Campground was using a really strong visuals, or a whole portfolio of visuals, to help share the story of how we built the campground and then reopened it. So for those of you who don't know the story, my husband Dan and I opened the In-Town Campground just over 4 years ago. It's located next to the Nevada County Narrow Gauge Railroad Museum here in Nevada City. And we built the whole campground. So 7 years ago, we purchased the property and then went through this really long, fabulous process of all the permits and all of the infrastructure and construction, and it was a really long, expensive, fun project. This particular photo is a great example of the power of visuals and how you can use that to help you to build an audience and understands and appreciates what you are selling. So when we first bought the property, we had to get a use permit, and one of the pieces involved in that use permit, we decided to stage our prospective future campground. And so we put together the 3 different types of camping we were going to offer. Once again, this is before we even got the permit, before we did any construction. So we built a glamping tent, we put together an RV site without any hookups, obviously, and we staged a tent site. And so what we did then is we invited the city planner at the time out to the property to have like a 3-dimensional experience of, this is what we're going to be doing. Here it is in the context of where we are and what we're doing, and you can go in and interact with it. And at the same time that we were trying to help bring to life for the planning process, I hired a professional photographer, and I said, come and take all these photos of what we are envisioning and going to build, and here's my shot list. It was a fairly complicated process. And then I had an entire media gallery of what we were going to build even before we'd actually built it. And so that content and those pictures, this photo being one of them, was how I was able to get into national publications before we even built the campground. So I feel like if you have a vision of what you're going to do and you have some way to fabricate it or create it or stage it, it's a really great tool to use as you are working on building it or selling it, and that way you've got the visuals for people to be like, oh, I see what you're going to do. Obviously ours is unique in the sense that we own the property, but it was a great tool for us to have. The other part about strong visuals that I feel like is that you have to personify what you're building and what you're doing. So we needed some lifestyle photos of our campground before we opened, and due to some logistical reasons, we ended up just using ourselves as the models, which in the end really actually served us as well, because we believe in what we were building at that time and what we wanted. And it helped give that face to our business and that family friendly and camping anyways. So if you're looking for a model and you can't find anyone, don't forget yourself. That's always an option. One of the things that I also found really fun about building our campground is that I got to document the process of it. And so this is the construction of a glamping tent platform. Obviously it doesn't look really all that exciting, but it was that process. And our customers got really engaged and interested in the journey because they got to see some of it, nuts and bolts, literally, as we were building it. And so I really do feel like if you have an opportunity to share, once again, obviously the different types of businesses that you're doing, but there's a lot of opportunity and sort of, behind the scenes and showing some of the things, whether or not that's the process of the creating, or if it's sort of the backstory, or if it's a work in progress. The customers are definitely appreciate it and feel like they're a part of the journey. Here are some more construction things. The picture on the left is my husband putting in an RV pedestal, and on the right was doing some earth moving before we reopened. So once again, these are not really pretty pictures, but I do feel like they help people understand and get your hands in, like sink into the process, to sort of give it some life, even when it's a work in progress. The other thing that I really like in terms of visuals is really understanding and recognizing the different times. So this particular photo is done by local photographer Kyle James. If you haven't worked with him, I highly recommend him. And thinking about how people will see themselves. So I look at this and be like, I want to be that person sitting on that back deck, enjoying the glow of the glamping tent and the stars, and just having like a moment of peace. To me, it just sort of resonates that, The other thing that I really love about this photo as a side, which isn't usually in my social media stuff, is that this photo was actually taken the very first week that we opened 4 years ago. And we didn't have, we built everything with such a crazy rush until the day we opened that we didn't have power in all of our glamping tents before we opened on day number 1. It was a work in progress. And so to be able to see them all lit up that first week was really magical. And it definitely, in addition to being a beautiful picture, was like, oh my God, we did it. We made it. Oh. these are a couple of photos that I've taken recently because I really wanted to help our customers to understand that at the campground, we are taking the public health mandates seriously. And so these are good ways to visually represent positive mask wearing. And then the photo in the middle is our youngest son, Josh, who's 12. So as a family-run business, when you're short-staffed, you put the kids to work. So I feel like there's lots of opportunities to showcase how you're coping in the land of COVID. And I think that there are positive ways to represent that. And to show your customers that you're taking things seriously and being responsible and doing the jobs that need to be done. So there's some creative ways to use that. 5 photos. I wanted to show you a couple of photos that I thought helped create community and bring life and spirit and quality to the experience. So as I said at the beginning, I'm not selling an actual product, I'm selling an experience. And I think there are some creative ways that you can help sort of get your customers excited. And one of the things that I get excited about are photos that are a little less traditional. So this particular photo, back in the day when we had chairs at the pool, is of my girlfriend's daughter dressed as a mermaid in our swimming pool, taken from the drone above the pool. So sometimes you just have to have a little bit of whimsical fun, because why not, right? And then maybe think about it from a different perspective. So going up definitely gave that sense of floating, and I don't know, it looks refreshing, and I'd like to go hang out in a pool in a mermaid outfit. Another thing that I thought was a good visual reminder of things is this is a staged photo. So I did this all completely as a way to sort of help people get into the festive spirit of fall. And I think that you can really do a lot. Like, I guess I wanted to validate that it doesn't have to be necessarily natural. Like, this photo is put together and composed and has decorations and some few product shots in here. But it, to me, really helps bring to life, like, oh, I can't wait for those cooler days, sit by the fire, maybe have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee. So there's a lot of value in creating a photo that helps sell the season that you want to be in, or you want your customers to think about. So another fun example of thinking outside the box is this is the photo from inside a tent. Once again, I'm trying to sell the experience of camping, and I'm just turning it upside down, inside out, whatnot. And another example of putting your customer into the space to help them visualize themselves being a part of it. So those are my shoes, and obviously I just staged this photo because I don't actually go camping at my campground, but I wanted people to kind of have that feel.
Erin, could you I've noticed that there's a consistency about the photos, and even though I don't know what your avatar is, your defined demographic, it does seem to tell me a little bit about that in the photos. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I mean, we've had conversations about how we need to be more inclusive and how we need to diversify our photos. So I actually look at this in the negative context of what you're saying. But I mean, obviously, we want to be family friendly and welcoming, and we have different types of camping. I feel like I have a certain visual eye, as I started off with. And so there's things that resonate for me in terms of a photo, and I have a hard time articulating what that is exactly. But I can look at, if you gave me 10 photos and you say, which one do you like? I could be like, oh, I like this one, this one, or this one, which is kind of the reason why I chose 5 photos that I like. But I don't know if that really answers your questions. Can I just say I like them?
Sure. Well, I guess sometimes people think about avatar as, it's a woman between this age and this age with an income of this much and an education level of this much, and she drives a Mini Cooper, and that's who I'm selling to. But I'm going to make some assumptions here that you have senior citizens that are full-time RVers. You have 20-somethings that go for the wild adventures, and they use your place as a base camp, and they probably have a nice tech job in the city so they can afford it. So it's more of a mindset than a demographic.
Yeah. I mean, I think that having been in the hospitality industry in this community for 10 years, I definitely do understand. And I try to put out content that represents the values that I believe in, which is part of the reason why I thought that Barry's presentation was so relevant to what I do, because I do believe in fill in the blank, all these varying things. And then I want to create content that resonates with what I believe in, and therefore it attracts hopefully the same type of clientele that I want. So, I mean, in the land of COVID, I feel like it's been really awesome to have so many people appreciate what we offer and that are respectful, that we're taking public health seriously and that we're responsible and that we care. So I don't know how you put that into a photo, but that's something that I believe in. And so I think with that as a grounding philosophy and principle, and obviously I'm still being true to our business, then it comes through the pictures. That's sort of a non-answer, but I mean, I could tell you the demographics of our customers and where they come from, but I want to talk about pictures. So like, who cares about the customers, right?
Well, I guess this conversation hopefully would illustrate to the students that, you know, your images represent something and you get to choose what that something is.
So let's go back to the pictures that I've chosen as ways to help represent the business, because I think that there are good examples of what you're asking me. So this is a photo of a fire pit. What I didn't actually take this picture. I'm in the background roasting a marshmallow. But I think that to me, what this picture represents is, you know, community, outdoors. It's an opportunity to connect with other people, have a marshmallow, which a lot of people have as like an integral part of their camping experience. And it's sort of the same aspect of, because the background is a little blurry, you yourself could easily envision yourself just sitting to the left. I will say in the land of COVID, we don't have communal fire pits as it's part of our public health requirements. But in non-COVID times, you could casually gather with other people you may or may not know and be a part of that experience of having a gathering and getting to know people and sitting outside. So I guess that's really kind of a non-answer, but it's that feeling. And I think that hopefully people can see and feel that through the content that I create. So I'll just continue down with my examples. And I know that Robert likes this picture because it shows the vintage Airstream that we purchased from him. So I wanted to show an example of just sort of having a little bit of personality, because I think that that's something it's difficult for a lot of people. But if you have an opportunity to showcase who you are and potentially what you do or represent, that your customers will really appreciate that. So I was taking some pictures of solar lights as a promo for a product marketing something. And I'm just looking silly and kind of childish in this photo. But I think it really helps represent, like, I don't take myself very seriously. And I think that that is important in my marketing, to be like, there's a real person behind all these pictures. And sometimes I string lights around myself and take a picture, or have someone else take a picture. And then going back to the campground and that concept of thinking outside the box, this is a photo from a drone. Actually, a customer took this picture, but what I wanted to use it as a representation of one of the things that makes our campground so special are all the trees. We have over 2,000 trees, which is really unique to being in town. And it's really difficult to get that scale from the ground. And so what I wanted was to have a photo that could sort of show the context of these RV sites and the swimming pool, but also to show the scale of the trees. So once again, not knowing all of your respective businesses, there are a lot of opportunities to show it. Sometimes, as I said, you go up, sometimes you go inside out, sometimes you go at night. And then sometimes you have to go back to what is it about your particular product that makes it unique and special and makes you stand out of a crowd. And then really think of how you can represent that and recognize it and maybe show it in a way to help illustrate it. I'm sure there are plenty of people who look at this picture and be like, oh, some RVs and some trees, or, oh, there's a swimming pool. But I think it's important to think about that next layer of why and what you're trying to tell your customer. So that's just an example of how you can kind of think outside the box. Here is a photo. What I wanted to show was seasonality. And so our campground has been open year round. I'm not 100% sure we'll be open this winter due to COVID, but we are definitely open in the fall. And so fall camping is a great time. It's a little less hot. We have a little bit of pop of color. I look at this photo as the same thing of, I could just see myself sitting in that chair relaxing. So think about ways to help interject your customers into whatever it is you're selling and help them be like, oh, I need that. I want that. You know, basic marketing 101. So if there's a way to help represent that, and then also thinking ahead, seasonality is important for my business, but I'm sure there's some buying seasons that are important in your respective businesses as well, and helping to come up with content that will help sell it at different times of the year. So if you have like a big Christmas rush, maybe the time to think about Christmas promo photos is in October or September, to have that content ready and to be able to have it in your wheelhouse and good to go.
Hey, Erin, we do have a question. If you could once again show the slide, what your 5 photos should show.
This one?
Guy, is that?
Did you want me to talk about that?
Guy, you could go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like.
Just wanted to copy it down real quick. Thank you.
Spirit and quality of the experience, and you know, good examples. We'll just go back the other way. Whimsical product placement. I think that there's value in that. Inside Out, which is relevant for the in-town campground, the sister business of the Outside In. Community and experience. I don't take myself very seriously. Trees. Fall, and once again, seeing yourself within it. And then I got to this one. I mean, obviously, as Nevada County residents, we all recognize it doesn't snow very often in our community, and every time it snows at the campground, it's just magical. And so I try to capture that, although it's not necessarily my selling season in terms of business, but I do feel like it does bring to life the beauty of the campground. And I don't know, the snow is all gone like an hour later, but I like that the tire tracks going through the trees and sort of that curve into the future. So this is that part where I'm visual and I look at things in a slightly different way than potentially others do. I don't know. Okay, so I wanted to give a few examples that were probably maybe a little more relevant for e-commerce if you have like a traditional product. So these are some photos that Linka Land Photography, who is a local photographer and does do branding lifestyle photos, how that she took of the olive oil shop and balsamic vinegar shop in Grass Valley. Because I think that there's ways, and so here's 3 examples of photos that you could have. And so the first one on the left, you've got obviously a basket of products. The one in the middle, you have the outside of the storefront, and the one on the right, you have people engaging with the product. So there's a lot of different ways that you can sell the same thing. And I think sometimes if you're really just sort of stuck, it's good to think about them in maybe these 3 different types of ways to present an actual physical product, to help you remember that you don't have to just do a product shot for every time. You could package it, you could give it its context of where it is, and obviously downtown Grass Valley, or you could have people, you know, in the day when people get together. And then I wanted to
Sorry, can I interrupt for a sec?
Sure.
You know, there was quite a difference between these photos and your more lifestyle photos. And when you were describing like, oh, the windy road and, you know, into the future, and that's really inspirational. And you know, how each photo was a different subject, and just your explanation was like, that was the social media post, you know, enjoy your future, come to, you know, however you express that.
Yeah.
So that seems like low-hanging fruit to take a picture that you think is cool, explain why it's cool, and represent your business. There you go. Yeah. These pictures here, especially the one on the left, is like, we sell olive oil that goes well with pasta. It feels
or maybe the caption is looking for a Mother's Day gift, or graduation gift, or a new house gift, or a newlywed gift. I mean, they're really like, food is a perfect gift for anyone. So yeah, there are lots of ways to sell things. I do recognize in the land of you saying that I just did my social media post captions, that for the people have asked in years past over different classes that I've taught about like how long it takes me to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm always super honest and tell them that I have many years of practice in these things. And for the Outside In's blog, even though I am currently on a hiatus in the land of blogging, I've written over 1,000 blog posts over the last 9+ years. And so, and then you think about all of the correlating social media that goes along with it. So these are things that come naturally to me. And so I feel like if you're struggling, please give yourself the patience to understand that with years, you'll fine tune what it is you want to say and how you want to say it, which is one of the reasons that I said at the beginning to understand and know your voice and to be authentic. And you can go back to the Outside In's blog and look at the content from the first year. I don't really like any of it anymore, but I won't delete it. So there you go. There's value in learning as you go along. So.
Yeah. So a couple things come up for me. Two separate things. One is that this time, the last e-commerce class, it was like, we're a brick and mortar, we need to get online. There was some service business here. And so that's one question is, you know, how are things different and how would you approach differently the service? And then the second part is I did, as you were talking, I sent a link to the class of your Instagram, Facebook, I think Twitter, and Pinterest, just to show a variety of your social media empire. And so you have your blog.
Yeah.
And so how do you, choose which platform? How do you do all of that? How do you do it all?
Yeah, I'm crazy, but let me go forward with the slides because I actually have some examples and I want to give some visualization to.
Okay, cool.
So this was a post that I put together while we were shut down. Once again, trying to come up with content to share what we were passionate about, and then also not knowing at all when we were going to be reopened. And so I went back to the photos that Kat Alves, another local super talented photographer, took of our vintage Airstream that we bought from Robert and then turned into an office. And these photos, I mean, it doesn't matter that they were taken 6 years ago, they're still beautiful and relevant. And so I created an example of what we represented in the context of an Airstream. And if you read the caption, I talk about how when Dan was building the campground, or we were building the campground, but Dan was doing all the nuts and bolts of the permitting, he needed a place to work and our kitchen table wasn't working because we have children. And so he then decided that he would renovate an Airstream because he's an overachiever. And so he gutted the Airstream and created this beautiful office inside. And it was, and as I said in the caption, while the office is currently nowhere near as clean, it is an awesome reminder of that idea you want to create something very large. It's important to have an inspiring small space to make it happen. And that says so much in the land of things. And then if you put that into the context of being closed and not knowing when and if you would get to open, then so there's a Facebook post for the campground.
I'll just say that it looks a lot cleaner than when me and my two young kids lived in the Airstream.
Yeah. It's currently
a lot cleaner.
I haven't spent any time in there at the moment, but whatever. No one needs to know that. I was honest that it's not currently as clean. That's as far as I need to go in that discussion. So, this is a really good example of community because Robert asked at the beginning in terms of like, how do you work together with others? So one of the questions that my customers have been asking, especially where are we at last week when the governor changed all the restaurants, is where can I go to eat? And due to a variety of reasons, there wasn't any one-stop shop for Nevada City in terms of the answer to that question. And so I created a Facebook post with a beautiful picture of Ike's cherry blossom tree, which I don't know, makes me happy, and just put it on our Facebook page because that was all I had the bandwidth to do, and wrote out all of the restaurants that were doing curbside and what days of the week they were open and which of our local restaurants had outdoor patios. That being said, like even in a week since I wrote that information has changed. It's not obviously a static answer, but my customers were asking, there was a need for that information, and that resource was not available. I'm happy to say that the chamber has since written a post that has some of that information, but that was like 6 days later, and I had hungry customers literally in my business at that time who were asking the question. So I think it's important to think about, what do your customers need to know? I mean, how soon do they need to know it? Like today? And then how can you find and fill that void of information? And then the small town community mindset, I think, is also, just like Robert was saying, it's so important, and it's something that we really believe in. So I want my fellow restaurant owners, small business owners, to know that I am thinking of them and I am supporting them, and my customers are going to them, and their success helps mine business success. So like, if all the restaurants close, like people will be sad, and maybe they won't come stay at the Outside Inn because they don't want to cook in half of the rooms that have kitchens. I don't know. So this was a really good example of knowing what was out there, spending some time trolling social media, finding out that information and providing it to our customers on social media, and making it as quickly as I possibly could, and then going back and having to edit it. But one of the other great things about it is that I didn't get it right the first time, which I never thought I would. And then I had restaurants correcting me, engaging, sharing, and so like crowdsourcing basically the information. So that's another one. You could put it out there and be like, hey guys, help me answer this question, and get a lot of engagement. So okay, so Instagram. So Robert mentioned that I like to do Instagram. This slide is what I did when we did the presentation the first time when we were closed, and I was just sort of coming up with visuals on how to keep my customers engaged, even though I was not open for business, not sure when I would be open for business, and really was getting very sick of answering the question of when will you be open. So this is just sort of a few visualizations of how to be creative when you don't know the answer. And so these are 3 examples of those posts that I created, once again, while we were closed. So the first one, I showed a picture of myself camping and basically talking about visualizing camping and dreaming of camping. The second one is a picture of Dan in the trenches. And I really think that this caption is a great example of that core values. And it says, throw back to building the campground from the ground up. Anyone else looking back on past challenges and obstacles and trying to see how you can apply those learning opportunities today, Dan is a fix-it guy, always coming up with creative solutions. So I wrote that in the midst of like probably the biggest challenge I think we've ever experienced, of like, we're closed, there's a global pandemic, and we don't know. So how do we fix it? I still don't really know. I'm still in that problem, but and then the third post was a picture I took on Earth Day, and it was so beautiful. And I think that this caption, which I'll read to you, I think really does help visualize the heart that we have for our business, and hopefully you can take some of these ideas and apply them to yours. But I wrote, in-town campground 4/22/20, it's truly torturous to tell you how beautiful everything is. The dogwoods are blooming, the tulips are providing a burst of color, the birds are singing, and it's very quiet. Being forced to be closed is difficult, but today, after taking a few laps around the campground, I remembered again why we put so much energy, love, and money into building it. We are looking forward to the day when we can welcome back our campers. While I wish I had all the answers to the questions I'm being asked on a daily basis, just know that we love camp and built it with the intention to share it with people. So there's a lot of beautiful ways that you can say, I don't know. So hopefully you can think about those sort of heartfelt ideas, and hopefully it can help you create and come up with ideas for your business and how you can connect with your audiences. So here's a more recent screen share of our social media, and just basically back to what I normally do, which is showing what we do and what we like. And the first picture is of a glamping tent. The second picture is of this shiny vintage Airstream, which I'm obsessed with those. The third one is my employee Julia wearing a mask. The next one is Dan and I doing an Instagram Live. We've been doing quite a number of these because there's so many different questions that people ask, and the situation keeps changing. So it's been a really great way to engage with our audience and have them be able to ask questions in live time so we can answer them. And then some more pictures of life around camp. So Robert briefly mentioned Pinterest. I know Pinterest is probably not the topic most people talk about, but it's it's a really amazing platform, and depending on what your business is and whether or not it's relevant, I would certainly recommend that if you are interested in diving into the land of Pinterest, that it will have a return. The thing that I think is important for people to remember about Pinterest is it's a search engine. So it's not that you're necessarily creating content. You could be creating and sharing content that other people have created, and having visuals. Once again, I'm a visual person, so but I have viewed Pinterest as a long game in terms of how I put things out there, and then people find it sometimes years later and they come back to my respective business websites. And Pinterest is another thing where you can do it all automated. So I have it in a program called Tailwind, and so I just plug a bunch of things in there and then go about my life, and then I come back and plug a bunch of things in there and go about my life. So I think this is a screenshot I did this morning. The InTown Campgrounds Pinterest account has 338,000 monthly views. So that's a really amazing resource. I've spent $0 on paid advertisement on this particular social media platform, and I constantly monitor the web traffic on our websites for our two businesses to see where people are coming, and Pinterest is always in the top 5 of referrals for a business. So definitely something to keep in mind.
So Erin, you mentioned Tailwind. Could you expand on that? Is that like a Hootsuite or?
Yes, and it's a scheduling program for Pinterest. It is a paid service, so you do have to subscribe to it. But basically, you just can go in and schedule out Pinterest pins and put them to boards and do multiple ones at one time. What I do is I tend to work in bits and like in bulk for Pinterest, and so I'll go in. I give the example of every year in January there's a wedding fair in Nevada County, and so I write a blog post about weddings in Nevada County, and I get photography from local wedding photographers. And anyways, I spend like a week thinking about weddings, and then I create content for weddings, or I've been to a dozen wedding photographers' websites, and so I'll just pin from their websites. So in 1 week I think about weddings, and then I schedule wedding content for the next 12 months because I realistically don't think about weddings again until January of next year. So it's a good tool for that. This year is a little thrown out the window because I have had lots of previously scheduled. Every year I do the same thing at the same time. We should have had summer nights this week, and we should be getting ready for, anyways, I could list all the things that aren't happening. The Children's Festival, we just missed that. Anyway, so I have all this content that I normally would put on autopilot that I had to actually remove from this year because I was organized and put it into my roster when I had the bandwidth to do it in the winter months. Yeah, so Tailwind is a great option for the person who wants to do some Pinterest, but doesn't want to have to go onto Pinterest every week because that doesn't always, I don't know. I'm not sucked into Pinterest recipes and decorating things. So I'm more using it as a functional. People are planning their vacations and they're looking for information on things to do and places to visit and the places that they want to potentially visit. So.
Yeah, so cool. So there are tools out there, free tools such as Hootsuite, that you can just spend a lot of time in a single sitting and make a bunch of posts and schedule them out. It's a huge time saver. People like that. And Erin, I know you have plenty of other things to cover, but I do want to make sure you address the service business and how it's different than product too. If you could just weave that in, that'd be great.
Well, I mean, once again, I'm providing lodging. So like people come and stay or they go camping. And so there are a lot of ways.
Well, let's say you were a lawyer or,
okay. Yeah.
or a massage therapist or something like that.
Well, okay. So if you're a lawyer, I'm sure you are practicing a certain type of law. So there's obviously plenty of opportunities to share if it's family law or if it's malpractice law or cannabis law, there's plenty of ways to help create your expert status on the area that you are practicing in. I think that there's also lots of opportunities to personify and make yourself a person. I think that that's one of the things that I've enjoyed about the more so the campground, because the campground is such an extension of who we are that I think that our customers really appreciate that and enjoy that. So service versus product. Yeah, I think that the basic marketing philosophies are still the same. So I think that there's just creative ways to think about it. And that was sort of the reason that I gave some of those photos at the campground, that like, who would think that a mermaid would help showcase camping? But there's creative ways. So yeah, I don't actually have, because I was leaving time for Adam, I don't have more slides in this fabulous presentation, but here are my contact details. And this is a photo that was taken during the shutdown by another local photographer. See how I have all these fabulous photographer friends? And it was Motherhood Behind Glass was the name of the series. And I thought it was a good way of representing myself and my children at the outside in a creative way. Once again, I'm forever thinking of these fun ways to help visualize things. Yeah, I wasn't able to read the chat while the slideshow was up, but I can happily read these and see if.
Well, let's just do some free-form questions. I think we got about 10 minutes to do that, and then we'll just take a bio break, a 2-minute bio break, and then Adam, we'll take it away from there. So please.
Anyone else? I think one of the things I didn't talk about on here, in addition to the land of Instagram, is that I also run the Visit Nevada City Instagram feed, which has the hashtag Visit Nevada City. And I started that 4 years ago. There's some backstory, but anyways, as an idea that I couldn't actually go and do and see everything in our community, that campground takes quite a bit of my time. And so that's been a really fun way to sort of curate other people's experiences in our community. So while still obviously selling what I offer. So sometimes I think if you're in a rut and stuck, it's good to think broader.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Okay, I am starting a business. I make bamboo, sustainably harvest bamboo coffee cups. I have a little bit of computer knowledge. I really need to make some money. I need to start selling quickly. There's all of these, I think I'm going to do Shopify, but I know I got to reach my audience on social media. What are some of the, how should I get?
Where are you going to start? You're going to start
where should I start? What are some basic steps I should do?
Well, you should definitely have a website. So that's step one. And then obviously you're going to have a Shopify shop. But I think having literally one social media account would probably be the best place to start. And if you're going to do bamboo coffee mugs, Instagram might be a good place to start. And then you could, engage with other similar lifestyle brands if you thought that was relevant. I'm a super fan of making sure you don't overcommit yourself. So I would not take my example of overzealousness and use that as your rubric of success. I would pick one and see what, maybe it's a Facebook page, or maybe it's, I probably wouldn't create a Twitter feed for a merchandise option, but yeah. And then the question on the chat, now that I can see the chat, is do hashtags work in Pinterest? Yes, they do. And one of the things that Pinterest is savvy on is like who tags. And so I like, what's your market? So if I create something that's camping, I'm gonna make sure that I put in there that it's camping related, and then Pinterest will push it out to people who are looking for camping related things, or Airstream or whatnot. So, or glamping. Glamping is another super popular one. So yes is the answer to that question.
So could you dive a little bit deeper into the lifestyle? So if I'm doing coffee cups and, if I align myself with other lifestyle brands, could you dig into that a little bit more?
Sure. If you go back to the slide of the Airstream all decked out in fall decor, and if you go and look closer, you'll see I have a Pickle Pottery cup, which is a local merchant, and I have a bottle of Nevada City Winery, and then I had a Coleman lantern. So like those are 3 brands that are put into that particular shot. So, if you were a bamboo thing, and you might approach me and be like, hey, I think that my product really aligns with your audience. Would you like a cup for your next styled photo shoot? Or maybe you work with another, like a local retailer, to be like, hey, we'd really love to be a part of your next campaign for eco-friendly picnics, because people should stop using single-use anything. So there's definitely opportunities, as you said, to figure out who your audience is, and then figure out where locally. But if you're online, it doesn't have to be locally. You could definitely think outside the box on that regard. So I'm going to answer this question. Do I have a sense on social media platforms largest engagement was 65 plus? I mean, honestly, I think for that, you're probably best off with an email list. So think about what your customers are looking for. And if an email list is going to serve them, then they don't have to log on to any social media. It'll just be delivered directly to their inbox. So there are many different ways to reach your customers, and knowing who your audience is definitely a good piece to that. What is the right answer for you? So, I mean, Facebook certainly is a good option. I don't think that my audience on Instagram is predominantly that age demographic. And the great thing about having a business Instagram is that I could actually just look up the insights and answer that question. So that's, my comment is based on factual information. So yeah, knowing who your audience is and how you can serve them, and what you're trying to sell. So those are all mine. I think my philosophy for both the outside in and the in-town campground is to just continually remind them. And sometimes, depending on the platforms, like in January, like, hey, maybe it's time to plan your summer vacation, or in the fall, maybe it's time to come look at fall colors because you're from New England and you live in San Francisco and there's no fall colors, or something like that. So there's a lot of different ways and applications and knowing that. But I think if you're just starting from the get-go, just scale it down and not try to do everything.
Yeah. So Erin, you are on the Rebound consultant team. If you would like to just, because tomorrow different people are introducing themselves, and just maybe let people know what you're available for, or how you'd like to help people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't feel like I'm the nuts and bolts, like web tech person. I feel like my expertise is in content and sort of, strategy and thinking about the big picture. And if you said, I want to sell this, and I could be like, oh, have you thought about it on this story arc or this visual means? Those are certain the skill sets. But that being said, I do have plenty of like actual use in the land of lots of social media platforms. And as Robert mentioned briefly, you can schedule things. So I know all of us are busy. And if you're like, I need to create a way to do this, you can schedule on Facebook and other platforms. So I feel like if time management is another one that's a problem, there are tools for that. So yeah, I am available. I did tell Robert that my actual day jobs are a little all-consuming at the moment. So my time is not as large as it was when I was unemployed and shut down. But I will certainly make myself available if I can help and facilitate. And yeah, I get passionate about storytelling and visuals and connection and community and yeah, that's kind of what I do.
Cool. What might be really helpful is, in an efficient way, is if the students, for example, made some posts and that just said, hey, Erin, could you take a look at these posts and make some pointers on ways to improve it? That might be a really focused way for you to give some good advice.
Yeah, I don't tend to give unsolicited advice because I do feel like we all have our own learning curves. But if you ask a direct solicited question, I will tactfully give you my feedback. So I feel like we all get to learn, and I don't want people to feel judged. So it is a teaching opportunity. That's a better way to frame it.
Cool. Well, we have one more quick question, and then let's take a bio break. Someone is asking about images for selling on eBay. Any suggestions on that?
I mean, you can certainly go to stock libraries and do that. Otherwise, I'm a huge supporter of just paying a photographer and getting your stock library for your own products. That way you have the copyright and you can, get the photos in a way that you want. There are a number of photographers in our community that do brand photography. And if that's a service, like I've seen some beautiful images of people in their jobs, like representing. And I think actually a great example from our last class that we did was Heather Hunt, who does Jacobson Chiropractic, and she just did some beautiful photos with a local photographer to help represent what she does. And so there are ways to sell services and people and professions through photos. So if that's something that you need to do, I would outsource it. And if you need actual product shots and you don't feel skilled to do that, I would outsource it. And if it's an opportunity to do stock photos, then great, if that works for what you're looking for.
Excellent. So it's timing's perfect. It's 9:30. Thank you so much, Erin. Feel free to stick around, or we understand if you got other things to do. And let's just kind of come back in 2 minutes, and we'll get on with Adam's wonderful presentation. Thank you. Oh, Erin, if you could make me host again. So you go to the participant list, and then you hover over my name. There you go. Thank you. All right. Hopefully people are finding their way back. There's Adam. I'm going to unmute you.
Sounds good.
Hey, where are you vacationing at?
Nashville, Tennessee, right here.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I'm just down the block from my my sister's house. She moved here a year or so ago, and just had her baby, a little
Oh,
boy. So we're here visiting the new baby and just hanging out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Adam is our next instructor. He's got a great marketing company. He is, we're going to talk about some more nuts and bolts type things. Adam is also part of our consultant team. So he's another resource that you can, hey, I want to put together an ad campaign or something like that. He's really good at analytics and honing in on your market. Oh,
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. I thought you were trying to. So Adam, I'm going to let you roll. We're going to do some, at the very end, we just have a little class housekeeping to do. There's something funky going on with, I can't make you a co-host. I have to make you a host. So you're gonna just have the steering wheel.
I'm gonna have all the power. Okay.
All the power, and then you just share your presentation from your computer. So I'm gonna do that now, and you are now the host. And Adam, take it away. And of course, we're taking questions in the chat.
Kicking you all out. No, I'm kidding. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Robert, for that introduction. Greatly appreciated. And I really appreciate you all being here. As Robert said, for people who may still be trickling in, I am indeed on vacation right now. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, visiting my sister and my brand new nephew. But I agreed to do this knowing I would be on vacation because I care so deeply about our town and about the businesses that make up our town. The more I visit and get to know the small business owners of Nevada City and Grass Valley, the more proud I am of what our town is doing. And actually, it's kind of funny being here in Nashville. I see a lot of that same energy. Nashville has a lot of, enterprising energy, a lot of like very creative small businesses, mostly in the restaurant arena. Actually, mostly making donuts. I've found they're very into donuts around here. But the real point I wanted to make with that I love about this town and that I see in Nevada City, Grass Valley is just, the creativity is there. And so I think that, I emphasized a little bit last time in my presentation, just talking about how we come together as a town, how we all can support each other. And I think really going forward, from today, I just think as a town, in addition to that support, we also need to add, just sort of, I guess, growing amongst uncertainty, because I think this is something with the pandemic that is going to be going on for much longer than any of us would really like it to, in terms of restrictions happening, closures happening, even going back to stage 1, stage 2, whatever it is. I just think we need to kind of be ready for anything and everything. So I really appreciate that Robert is doing this, that we are as a team helping out business owners to start online platforms. And I really just appreciate everyone showing up and being a part of this, because I think that these are the ones that we are the group that is really going to help the recovery in this town in the best way possible. So would everyone please just do one quick thing for me? Would you just drop in the chat box really quickly, what is your business? We did this last time and it was really, really helpful just to get a handle on who everyone is in this room. So if you could just type out either what your business is or the business itself specifically, that would be really great. Helps me kind of tune into who I'm talking with, what I should focus on. And of course, I'll keep it very high level. Thank you so much. Excellent, excellent. So I'll keep it very high level. And then what I'd really like is for everyone to, at the end, ask me their more specific questions, because I am happy to answer everything in specifics. But for now, just keeping everything, oh, hey, Robin, what's up? Just keeping everything high level and applicable to everyone. So thank you for that. This is great. So I'll just jump right into it and share my screen here. So there we go. Okay, and I will start. I'm going to move you over, Robert. There we go. Start the presentation. Okay. So, Robert, give me a thumbs up if you can still see me and the screen is sharing. Good, good, good. Okay. So this is Digital Marketing Made Simple. I am Adam Trowbridge, and let's see, here we go. So the presentation rundown for everyone who doesn't know, this is Olga. She is here to make sure everyone is paying good attention, and she believes her scowling face will help with that. So we had a disagreement, but she made it in here. Anyway, so I would just like to introduce myself, give you a brief overview of marketing itself, and then of course digital marketing more specifically. We're going to go over the basics. We're going to talk about social media marketing, and then Google AdWords and SEO, which is search engine optimization, which is closely related to Google. Then we'll talk a little bit about analytics, email marketing, and then kind of bringing it all together for your business, because as we know, ultimately that is why you're here. So who am I? My name is Adam. Again, I'm an entrepreneur, a family man. That's my wife, and my son Henry and son Daniel is the youngest. I actually owned a preschool in town called Iron and Pine Preschool. It was in Nevada City. I have lived in Nevada City for 5 years, lived in California over 20 years. And as I mentioned, I'm a husband and father of 2 little boys. So talking about marketing. So what is marketing? Why does it matter to you? For me as a business owner, and really talking with other business owners, I've realized that marketing itself may be one of the most important and most easily overlooked or most easily done wrong aspect of a business. It's very easy to think that simply just getting your message out there will resonate with people. It's easy to think that, in a small town like ours, that word of mouth is enough, which, don't get me wrong, word of mouth is a very powerful thing, but I feel that there's less of a reliance on marketing than perhaps there should be, simply because, we could be getting a lot more customers in the door, making up for that marketing budget, which is ultimately always what you want to do. And then of course, what does marketing cost? So that's one of the biggest things. If I could make one point of emphasis today, it would be on the fact that, marketing should never be thought of as an expense. It should always be thought of as an investment in your business. Similar to, if you were buying a piece of machinery, you wouldn't really be buying a piece of machinery if it wouldn't help out your business and make it more efficient, and you could eventually make up that cost later. So if you have an expensive, let's say I saw someone who was a fine jewelry maker. Let's say there's this piece of machinery that costs $10,000 and can help make your jewelry much faster. You would not invest that $10,000 unless you thought you could make up for it on the back end with greater business. That's really how I'm hoping we can all see marketing today after this presentation. Hopefully you already do, but really too few people see marketing as an investment and too many see it as an expense of the business. And I'd like to kind of turn that on its head. And then of course the question many people ask, can it work for me? The answer is always yes. Why didn't it work the last time? If you've tried marketing before and not gotten the results you were hoping for, could be a number of different things. Usually it's the audience, not finding your specific audience, and the message, not really getting that message across that resonates with your audience. Really figuring out what your most loyal customers are tuned into and what they like about your business, so that they keep coming back. And then of course, can you do it yourself? Yes, absolutely. I'm hoping to help with that a little bit today. As Robert said, I am also a consultant that's happy to speak with you over the phone, over email, and talk with you about any marketing strategies you have, and get that going for you if you'd like. So that answers what if you get stuck. Then you can always have help. You have me as a local resource. And of course, there are marketing professionals all across the country that can help you with that. But what we're really talking about in this environment, of course, is digital marketing. Now, how is it different from traditional marketing? Well, traditional marketing in the past has been, things like billboards or magazine or radio or TV, things that get a short message across to your audience, that frankly, you don't really have any control or any feedback on. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say control, but you don't have any feedback from. Whereas digital marketing, you are in almost every case getting instant feedback. Search engine optimization, you can look at statistics from the search engine that tell you what people are looking at. Your videos, your social networks, even your emails now can be tracked in terms of engagements, in terms of views, clicks, likes, everything in between. It can all be in real time tracked with how people are responding, how your audience is responding. And the difference in cost, which, of course is a very valid question, is often much less expensive. Digital marketing has become less expensive than traditional marketing. And certain things like email, once you've built a list, can actually be free. There are people who make their entire careers working on how to engage a list, grow a list, and then email market to that list as inexpensively as possible. And how do you know which tool to use? TAFO is something that I like to say, test and find out which tool will work for you. You probably already have some idea of what will work, but really in marketing, we're always testing, we're always looking for that new edge. And of course, things change all the time. So what works today might not work tomorrow.
Yeah, I want to jump in for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you don't mind.
Please.
I'll just take the Business Ignitor course, for example. We've been doing this for 10 years now. And yes, all these things on the slide, mobile and all these digital marketing techniques. There's also, I hate to say it, but I really don't, I'm not really big on print advertising. I think it's really expensive and you can't tell if it's that effective. But there's something called earned media where, for example, if you were to write a article and submit it to the local paper, they might publish it. And that's you get a lot of exposure from that. You're not paying for a little ad that people are just not even going to look at, but you're like almost headline news if you get good placement. Or if you call up the radio and say, here, I have this great story. It goes back to like storytelling. It's not like, hey, can I come on the radio and sell my widget? They're going to be like, buy an ad. I'm in the business of providing response to fires. And I have, some tips on how to make it through the fire season. And by the way, my website is everything you need to survive a fire. They're going to buy you're going to advertise your products, but you're giving valuable content. So there's ways around in traditional media to harness the power of it without paying for it or not paying much for it. So that's one thing. And then another thing I want to point out is, let's see, there's 20 people online right now in this class. And I would bet that there's 5 or 6 different ways that the people in attendance today heard about this class and signed up for it. Word of mouth, Sierra Cummins, news, email blast, social media, the Sierra Cummins social media, other people's social media. So there's a variety of ways. And so in some ways you just have to like hit a bunch of different angles as well. And it's a lot of legwork. Back in the day, I would actually put up handbills around town, staple them. And I remember 2 Igniter classes before, there was this restaurant by the boardwalk on Commercial Street, a closed restaurant. And I put this, I'm like, what the heck? And I remember, should I put it here or not? And I put it here and it was like not very visible. And someone said, I saw a flyer. I said, which flyer? And she said, that flyer I put up. I'm like, you just never know what's going to work. And so I was ready to just say, I'm not doing flyers. It's not environmentally friendly and it's a lot of time, but I got someone in the seat, so it works.
Absolutely. Well, it's funny. I worked with a man in New York City who says that's a significant part of his advertising budget is paying someone to flyer all around the city, and it works. He gets a lot of return on investment from it. So I think it's just about knowing your area as well. If flyering works, why not? So, yeah. Well, thank you, Robert. So then, talking about the basics, this just can be just real simple here. Essentially with Google, you just want to be on the list. You just want to make sure your business is listed on Google. When someone is searching for specifically what you have in your specific area, you want to make sure you're showing up, because you should be. If there isn't a lot of competition in the area, there isn't more than 10 businesses, you should be on that top 10. Just make sure you're on there. If you need any help with that, let me know. You can also search Google for how to be on Google with your business, but many of you probably already know, so I'll skip over that. And then Facebook and Instagram. These are the two big platforms that, as of today, are the biggest social media platforms. They're used by young and old people alike. Whatever you say about, the young generation's doing this instead and the older generation doesn't use social media, regardless of all that, if you want to advertise to anyone, Facebook and Instagram are great places to start. It's a good place to have what we call an organic presence, which is basically you set up your page, you give basic information about your business, and it just exists there. Instagram, Erin was a perfect example of how to kill it on Instagram with some great pictures, great captions, great hashtags. I won't repeat anything she said, because you can just go back and watch her presentation again to know exactly how to do Instagram perfectly, really. And they are best friends, like I say in this silly little photo here, because their advertising platform is one platform. If you want to advertise on either Facebook or Instagram or both, you are using one advertising platform for those two. So in terms of efficiency, if you're just looking to spend a few dollars on digital marketing, that's probably the first place you should start. And a lot of companies scale as well. People are spending $10 a day. I know people personally are spending $2,000 a day on Facebook and getting returns from it. So just, the first place is to start. And
I'm sorry, Adam. I don't mean to derail you, but I just something you said earlier about people know about the get on Google. I've found that a lot of people starting out really don't know about Google Business Listing, and it's just it's so huge. It's free.
Yeah,
it's so huge. Could you just spend a little time on that?
I'd be happy to. So essentially, if you are wondering what your Google presence is, you can just Google your business as though you heard about it from a friend and you're looking to find it. So, if I typed in right now, Grass Valley Chamber of Commerce, I know that their website would come up, Robin's name would come up, her picture would be there on the website somewhere. They have their presence down. Now, if I Google searched, let's say my preschool, when I was just opening my preschool, nobody knew about it yet. So nothing showed up, absolutely nothing. So what happens sometimes is that your business will show up if you've been in business for more than, a few months, and it will have a little thing under there that says, is this your business? And then you can go through the process of claiming it. Google has some verification thing they do. You can claim it. It's then attached to your email address, and it's your business. You can reply to comments. You can post things, on the main Google page. You can change your hours of operation. You can update people on what's happening during COVID, all these different things. But essentially, the first easiest step with Google is just take control of that listing. Find the listing, make sure you are in charge of it or someone is in charge of it, and take control of that. So the other basic thing is just to make sure your information is correct. If you're open from 9 to 5, but for some reason Google thinks you're open from noon to 3, you're probably going to be missing out on a few customers that won't show up during the hours that you're in business. So just making sure your address is correct, your hours are correct. Even the photo that pulls up is a photo that you want to be there. These are all very basic things, but they can really make a difference when someone is searching for your business. You want to make sure they have the best information and the correct information, and that you actually can be found on the Google platform. So was there anything else that I missed, Robert? I know you probably know more about this than I do.
Yeah, well, I guess there's this advertising budget. People think, okay, I'm going to spend some money on social media. I'm going to spend some money, put some the golden the golden rainbow or whatever, get on the top page of Google, #1 listing. People are spending just buckets of money. If you are a real estate person or something like that, and you want to come up on #1 on a Google search, that's going to cost you a lot of money. But if you go to Google and say, Google business listing, just Google business listing, and then create a Google business listing. When someone searches realtor Nevada City, then there's going to be a list of realtors in Nevada City that's not paid. So you essentially will get on the top of Google before the paid listing and before the organic listings in certain cases. If people are specifically searching for, if someone searched for co-working Nevada City, well, Sierra Commons is going to come up because Google is smart enough to know we're it in town. And the right-hand column on Google at the top is going to have Sierra Commons and our star rating. And I keep on adding pictures because the more pictures you add, the more Google pushes your profile out. And link to our website, link to the phone number, directions, all this information, and it's free. So you get like premium placement on Google for free if you claim your business. And then the last thing I'll say about it is so many people are on mobile. I need directions. They're on their phone. They shouldn't be on their phone driving. Okay, they're using whatever. You can just click on the phone number. It'll make your phone call. They can click on directions. It automatically will give you the directions. So it's just in so many ways, I'd almost say, like, if you don't do anything else, claim your Google business listing. Definitely. It's just a must.
Definitely. And Robert, you bring up a very good point as well about competition. So if you are in a business that has a lot of local competition, you're going to treat your marketing very differently than if you are in a local business with no competition. I don't know of any other co-working spaces in Nevada City. So of course, co-working Nevada City, Sierra Commons is it, essentially. If you're looking for a co-op in Grass Valley, Briar Patch is it. We all know that. But if you're looking for, what is there a lot of? A pizza, there's a few pizza restaurants. There's the new one, there's the more established ones, and if you want to get your name out there, you kind of need to differentiate yourself and build a brand. So what you focus your marketing attention and efforts on will depend a lot on how much competition your town has and how far an area you're looking to draw people from. Now, of course, that becomes a very different thing when we're talking about online stores, but we can go into that more later. So what is social media marketing? Well, there are many social media platforms, many different ones, but essentially we're just going to talk about the big three: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. As you know, different platforms attract different users, and it gives your business the ability to reach customers where they are, which is on their phones, tablets, laptops, cheaply, very effectively. And it also allows customers to engage with you right away, as opposed to something like, you put up a billboard with a phone number on it, you're just sitting there next to the phone waiting for it to ring. Whereas with this, people can click once to maybe pull up your web page, click twice, maybe to download something from your web page, or click a few times to actually purchase something from you just from your marketing materials. So how deep the rabbit hole goes kind of depends on what we call a funnel, how you've set up your funnel to be. Different companies obviously operate in different ways, but when we're talking about marketing and social media marketing, it really should always be an integral part of any marketing campaign, even if it's only a small percent of the budget. However, if it's the entirety of the budget, I could never say you're going wrong with that. But one thing to think about is, what medium does your business operate best with? Is it the written medium? Then Facebook is probably going to be your best platform. They like large blocks of text, or at least, you can do that. You can do that on Instagram as well. But if you're looking at more of a picture-based medium, then Instagram is going to be the best. And for video medium, of course, YouTube is the place to go. So, there's a lot of creative ideas you can do in terms of these platforms if you want to build them up. There's a lot of great ways to make content or hire someone to make content, but this is just something to think about kind of as a starting point for the different places that you can spend your advertising budget that should be able to see results pretty much instantly. Now, Google AdWords and SEO. So Google AdWords is essentially when someone makes a search on Google, you are paying Google to have your results come up first. Now, there are ways to kind of game the system or play the system, as it were, where your business and your website can show up higher naturally. That's search engine optimization. Whereas AdWords, you're essentially, so let's say I have a pizza business in Nevada City. I want it to come up first because I'm new, I don't have much of a presence. So I pay Google to, anytime someone types in pizza Nevada City or pizza near me within, a 50-mile radius of my business, whatever it is, I want my name to show up. Right? So I give Google some amount of money. They tell me how much it's going to cost per click. And then when people click on my ad to go to my website about my pizza, that's when I pay Google. So the certain types of businesses will work better for this. So for example, when I was doing my preschool, I paid a little bit of money for Google AdWords because when someone is searching for a preschool in Nevada City, there's not a ton of competition. Most of the preschools at that time were full. So I knew that other preschools were not spending money on advertising, meaning that I did not have much competition. And when you don't have much competition for Google AdWords, it becomes much cheaper. So I knew that would be a cheap option. So when people searched preschool Nevada City, preschool Grass Valley, my name was coming up towards the top. They were clicking on it. I paid for those clicks very happily because I knew those people were just that minute searching for what I provided. So if you have something, if you have high margin sales, items, high lifetime value businesses, so LTV stands for lifetime value. And the way you think about that, my favorite example is like a restaurant. If you have a restaurant, one customer in the door one time is not actually going to get you that much in the way of profit. But one raving fan of a customer will come in once a week, maybe even twice a week, will tell all their friends about you, will get takeout when they have gatherings. They are a fan of yours and you want more people like them. So if you have, a business that has a high lifetime value, people who keep coming back day after day, month after month, and even year after year, then you want to make sure you're investing in marketing that will help find these people specifically, because there is a certain type of customer that will keep coming back, and there's a certain type of customer that will come to you maybe once or twice. So just thinking about that is a good way to think about AdWords. And then of course, event-based or seasonal. Erin was talking about weddings. So maybe around wedding season, she put some money into Google AdWords so people can associate coming to Nevada City for a wedding with staying at the Outside Inn, and she gets more business that way. She doesn't do it all year, advertising for weddings. It's just right before wedding season. She puts a lot of money into it, but then she gets a return on investment from that. Search engine optimization is a little bit different. Essentially what you're doing is optimizing your web page so that when people search for something like what you have, you are going to be one of those natural first 3 or first 5 results that comes up. Services can use this. If there's high competition, a lot of businesses will benefit from this because, you know, if I'm searching for a chiropractor in Nevada City, you know, they did a study. Most times when people search for something, they don't actually scroll past the first page. They just pick something that looks good to them on the first page. So that's important to know. And then things that are locally focused, that you want to make sure people are local when they are partaking in your business. That's also a good candidate for search engine optimization. Then once it's optimized, once you've paid money to have a specialist optimize this for you, or, you know, you've studied and you've done it yourself, traffic can be much higher. So this is sort of a longer term investment that will pay off down the road. But once you get to that top spot, you know, your gains can be incredible. So in terms of return on investment, you know, very low to begin with, could be very high down the road. Now, analytics. This is essentially just saying that it is important to measure, test, and optimize whatever marketing you are doing. So analytics are really the key that unlocks social media ads. They help you compare one ad against another, gain insights into your audience, who they are, what they like about you, what they respond to, and then optimize your ad spend quickly. So I can put up 2 different ads against each other. Let's say one with an image of a child and one with an image of an adult, you know, see what my audience responds to, what they click on, what they comment on. And in a day or 2, I can kill one of those ads, boost the other one with the remaining budget, and probably have a higher return on investment just from that one day of testing. And then you can confidently calculate your return on investment going forward. So let's say Erin, you know, going back to a seasonal round of advertising, if Erin wanted to advertise for wedding season, she could look at her results from past years and confidently say, okay, if I put $1,000 into that, my return on investment should be 3x. I should get 3,000 in business from that. So, you know, you can be a little more confident going forward with knowing what's going to happen with these ads. And then email marketing. Let's talk about this for a second. So email marketing is something that, similar to search engine optimization, is difficult to build right away. It's difficult to build quickly, I should say. But if you already have an email list, you are quite literally losing money if you are not using this to get money for your business. You should always be using your email list. It is not something that, you know, should be taken lightly. If you have a list of potentially interested customers, it's something you should be doing very frequently, and you should not be worrying about sort of burning out your audience, as they say. There's many ways to do this, many professionals who work on this, but I'll just give you a brief overview. So why email marketing? Basically, because it's free, because you are getting into people's inboxes, and if they have allowed you to be in their inbox, you know, most people curate their inbox, so they're unsubscribing from things they don't want to see. So if they didn't want to see you, they probably would have already unsubscribed. So you can send 10 emails a day if you like, and some people, if they like you, will probably not unsubscribe from you. They'll probably just be like, wow, someone's really busy today, right? And if you already have a list, like I said, this is something you should be doing today, yesterday, tomorrow, as soon as you possibly can, figuring out a way to reach your customers, talk to them, keep them engaged, and of course, you know, keep your business going. How you grow a list for free really depends on your business, but it's something that you should be thinking about. You know, of course, when someone makes a purchase from you, that's the easiest way. You just capture their email. When someone is interested in a piece of content that you have, if you're putting out a free piece of content, you know, that's a great way to grow your list. Oh, you'd like my content? Let me email it to you. Give me your email address, right? Then how to keep your subscribers, of course, is to make sure that the messaging you're giving them resonates with the same reason that they contacted you in the first place. So this is really an issue of branding. Are you on brand? You know, are you speaking to your audience in the same way each time? Do you know why your audience is interested in what you have to say and how to keep saying it in new and exciting ways, right? And then I would say how to outsource this, very easily. There are a number of email marketing professionals who can do this for you. There are, Erin mentioned a couple of programs that can schedule out your social media. It's also very easy to schedule out your email bursts, right? And outsourcing this can be done from a total standpoint, or you can just get someone to write the emails for you. There are email copywriters who, are very skilled, work with large companies. This is a standard practice in business. You can get one to work for you as well. Now, the drawbacks to consider are that, like I said, this does take time. This is something that, needs to be invested in over time and needs to be kept track of. You need to keep careful track of who's on your list, who is actually opening your emails and actually clicking on them, because this is a numbers game. But the best businesses for this are ones that have new things happening. I would say restaurants are a good candidate. You can talk about specials, new items on the menu. Movie theaters might be good for this. Hey, we got the big blockbuster Marvel movie coming out, buy your tickets 5-day pre-sale specifically for those on our email list, blah, blah, blah. But there are a lot of different businesses that are really set up to do email marketing that are not. And I would say this is absolutely an untapped gold mine for a lot of people who aren't using it, and something that I think, for certain businesses should always be used. And in our town, I've noticed that, we're kind of behind the times, and email marketing is something that really could be done more in our small town specifically. So let's put it all together, and then I will take questions. I see that there's the chat box is lighting up. I want to get to those, but let me just finish this.
Wait, Olga's smiling.
She is. So Olga finally realized you guys were paying great attention. She's so happy with you guys. It was all kind of her joke the whole time. She's just being cheeky. That's her sense of humor. So anyway, so putting it all together, I would say that really right now is a great time to dive deep. Really think about who your best, most loyal customers are and why they shop with you repeatedly. I would even say if you know how to get in contact with some of these loyal customers, it wouldn't be the worst idea to even do something like a focus group. Say, hey, I'll give you a $10 gift card or $50 gift card to my business. If you just sit down and talk with me for a few minutes, or even, get a company to do this. There are companies that do these things. I'm happy to reward you. You've been a great customer. I just want to know what you think about my business, why you like it so much, and how I can find more people like you, right? Keep them in mind as you develop and find more ways and more customers like them to keep them coming back, right? So we call this the customer avatar. So, for my preschool, I was thinking of those families that are raising their children in a certain way. It was a Waldorf inspired preschool. So I'm looking at families that like, natural materials, organic food, these kinds of things. I have them in my mind when I'm putting together my messaging for my marketing, right? How can I get people like them to notice my business and want to join, right? And then work with and hire those who inspire creativity, because really right now, I'm going to be honest, guys, in this whole COVID pandemic, nobody knows what they're doing. People in business don't know what they're doing. Large businesses, small businesses, we're all just trying to figure out how we go forward from here, especially because we don't know even if things are going to be open tomorrow. We don't know how they're going to be open. We don't really know anything. The one thing we do know is that the internet, will probably still be working, and we'll probably able to get people online and buying from your online store. But because we are brick and mortar businesses in this town, I know there are some on here, we're dealing with brick and mortar products, physical products, right? We need to really creatively think about how to reach new customers, new ways of doing things, new ways of talking to them. Everything new, I think, is going to greatly improve your business, rather than trying to just do things better, thinking of how we can do things new. And then as a town, keeping this collaborative and creative mindset going in order to thrive together. I hope you guys know I absolutely am here to help, showing this right now, showing up on my vacation, because I really want people to gain something from this. If it's just a few good ideas, if it's the knowledge that someone like me is out there wanting to hop on a phone call with you, wanting to talk through your marketing strategy, whatever it is, just knowing that there is support, there is help. We want your business to thrive. It's so corny, cliched, and overused, but we really are all in this together. And none of us really know what we're doing going forward. We're all just trying to make it work as best we can. So if I can help out in the arena of marketing, I would love to. And then putting all these elements together while keeping in mind your goals and your ideal customers, that alone will help you put together a comprehensive marketing plan. Just because if that's all you're focused on, if that's what your mind is really pinpoint laser focused on, it's hard to go wrong when you're speaking to them, because you know your business the best. And if you can just understand your customers, people who feel understood will buy from you, will, for sure. So Olga, she's so silly. She's messing with us. So anyway, thank you for your time. This is my contact information. Please, I really do want people to reach out. I'm happy to talk to anyone, refer you to the professionals that I know for either email marketing, search engine optimization, whatever it is. If it's not my specialty, I know someone whose specialty it is, and I'm happy to get you in touch with them. But just the one last thing, I really want to say, if I can stop sharing for a second here. There we go. So the one thing I just really wanted to say was that if we can just start thinking of marketing really as an investment in growing your business, I think we're just going to do a lot better. I just want everyone to know that marketing should be a thing that grows your business in a noticeable, actionable, measurable way. Each investment of marketing you do, you should be able to see it, coming back to you in returns. And I just hope that anyone doing it can be doing it the right way and the most efficient way, so that your return on investment is as high as it can possibly be. So I'm going to look at these. Okay, it looks like Robert was answering a couple of questions.
Yeah, well, I do have one that was asked privately, but how you were earlier, you were talking about, looking at your best customers, most valued customer, getting some feedback from them. Some of the folks here are just starting their business, so they don't know who their best customer is. Do you have any suggestion for them?
Absolutely. I'm actually working on a new business myself, and I'm thinking about, I think about the customer I want to have. So let's just do this. I'm just doing a cold brainstorm here. I want to open a breakfast restaurant in Nevada City, which is actually true. One day I do. It probably won't be in the next year, but one day I want to open a breakfast restaurant. I'm thinking about, who do I want in the door, right? I'd love to have regulars. I'd love to have single people, older people who don't work every day, maybe retired folks. So I want to make sure the ambiance is something that is familiar to them, right? I don't want to go too out there, right? I want families in the door. So I'm going to make sure we have high chairs, we have kids menus, we have crayons, we have maybe even a kids play place off in a corner somewhere, because I'm a parent myself and I know that I love when my child is engaged somewhere away from me where I can watch them, but I don't have to be right next to them. For younger kids, this is what you want. So you're really just thinking about who is your ideal customer. And then you're thinking about, for new businesses, what kind of customers might be attracted to you that you don't want, right? If you're an antique store, a fancy antique store, you don't want people with no money and, dirty hands who just want to touch everything and possibly break things. You don't want them coming to the store. You want people in the store who have money, are interested in antiques, who are ready to buy. And, you don't need to be ashamed of that. You can love everyone and bless everyone, but you can also be very careful about who you energetically let into your store, right? So when you're thinking about these things, it sort of comes naturally when you have a single person in mind. They are polite, they are interested, they are wealthy, they are well-read, whatever it is. Just the mere fact that you're keeping them in mind and trying to speak to them, that alone will inform, what words come from you when you're doing your marketing material. And then of course you're always going to want to get proofreading help and everything, but that's
so how do you get their email address?
Excellent question. So that is tougher. That depends on the business itself. But the greatest way to pay for email addresses, because you're going to need to pay in the beginning, somehow, some way you're going to need to pay. What I would say is, if your business is something that would work on Facebook advertising, that a lead magnet would be great. So if we're talking about, let's say something is tried and true as a real estate agent. You're a real estate agent, you're new, you're starting out, you want to get email addresses. You could write a guide, something like the 5 biggest mistakes homeowners make when selling their house in Nevada County, right? So that sets you up as, an authority, because you're saying Nevada County. You're not saying you're new, but you're also not saying you're experienced. You're just saying, I'm focused on this area. I know about this area. 5 biggest mistakes says, kind of says, oh, well, I've seen it all, and then people don't want to make mistakes. So they click on things like that because, oh gosh, I don't want to make any of these mistakes. Maybe I already am, so a piece of marketing material can be, should be informative and entertaining, but of course also refer to, the problem that your customer has and the solution that you have. So something as simple as a breakfast restaurant is like, oh, you have a hungry stomach, come on in, we have food. That's very, very simple. Their problem could also be, they need to sell a house. They don't quite know how. You can help them with that, but really thinking about, what is your customer's reason for buying your product or hiring your service, and how can you speak to that and speak to yourself as a solution? So I'm going to just jump in. So Matthew asks, can we talk at some point about the ways to manage the relationship between a Facebook page and a standalone website? Great question. So a standalone website will be what you are optimizing for on the search engine optimization. A standalone website can also be somewhere where you are selling your products. It can be a blog. It can be a lot of different things. But essentially a Facebook page is, a place for people to interact with you, where usually a website is a place that people buy from you. So I would say the relationship between them should be one that you're looking very closely at. Why are they there? Are they on your Facebook page to buy from you? Then you need to have a way for them to get out of there as quickly as possible onto your website where they actually will buy from you. Are they on your website to interact with you? Then you should have a link on your Facebook page, or a link on your website to the Facebook page. So if they want to interact with you, comment and whatnot, then make sure that it's clear where they can do that. Different people come to different businesses for different reasons. You just want to make sure that your website is very clear what it is and why it's there. And a Facebook page is set up that, they know you're interacting, they know that you're a presence, and they can, hear feedback from you, like things, comment on things, whatever it is. Erin spoke to that, I guess, already. You can add a widget to your website if you want to show it within your website, or you can just add an icon or link to it.
Do you end up posting duplicate information on both very often, or is it more focused on bouncing people back and forth?
There will be duplicate information, just because sometimes all people are looking for is how to call you, or what your website is. So maybe they'll go on Facebook and they'll look for your business and they'll have your website there. You want to make sure you have the most basic information on your website, like your phone number and address, but that's pretty much all the redundancy that there is. You might have, if you have like a marketing blurb or something, like a subheadline to your company name, you're going to have that on both. But beyond that, they are going to serve different functions. So if you're like Erin, probably posts a lot of pictures on her social media, she probably doesn't post anything but the very best pictures on her website, and that kind of stays the same. So does that make sense? So Matthew, let's talk specifically about your website. What are you?
Cool. Could we just take just a couple more minutes on that, and then we'll wrap it up? And so go for it.
I'm getting into the field of senior healthcare insurance products, which one thing that's coming up for me is that when you Google Medicare insurance Nevada City, you end up with huge national corporations all over the place who have big budgets for SEO and everything. And
Mhm.
I'm curious how to compete with that and how to actually bring local people. I know most local people want to deal with someone local, but trying to get to the top of their list is complicated.
So, yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a big one. You're kind of David and Goliath there. I would say that just any way you can get in front of people and let them know that you're local, because that's your big differentiation, right? Is local versus large behemoth company. So in the middle of a pandemic, it's going to be a lot harder for you, obviously, to get out there and shake hands. But if we're ever going to shake hands as a society again. But I think that really just getting in front of people in any way you can, even like, those little placemats they have at, what's that restaurant on
Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah, at Humpty Dumpty or I think there's one other that does it, but just, any little local, and that might even be your way to go back to traditional advertising, get on the local radio stations and things like that. So this might even be a better route to go. But if you're really just looking for, your differentiation between Facebook and website, I would say your Facebook should be usually a place to direct people to the website. Your website should be your sales page. Your Facebook should be a way to direct people to the sales page. Plain and simple. And your differentiation should be, I'm local, I'm here, I'm a real person, I can meet with you, talk with you, I'm your neighbor, I live next door, and I will provide you much better service. So yeah, that's a big one. And Donald, what do clicks cost? Test and find out. You never really know till you get there. Clicks might cost half today what they cost tomorrow. They might cost double tomorrow, what they cost on Friday. So it really depends on everything that's going on in the marketplace, who is ramping up their marketing, who is dropping their marketing, so many factors, but Google will tell you before you pay them. And then how often do you send out email? Another excellent question. I am subscribed to a list of a guy who I really look up to. If you want to look him up, his name is Chris Orzakowski. I can send you a link later, but he is an incredible email marketer. And he says you can send out 3 emails a day and not bother your audience and get money from it, right? Maybe not every day, but some days. And then he says, sometimes once a week is best, sometimes once a month is best, but there is no hard and fast rule. And often what most businesses fall into the trap of is thinking that they can't, bug their customers too often, when really they're getting bugged from every angle anyway, and you just become part of that noise. They don't specifically think of you bugging them, but what they will do, many customers actually will respond when you send out a lot more emails than you think you're supposed to, right? So I would just, I would even have a consultation with an email copywriter and kind of ask them, what do you think based on what you're seeing? Because they're tuned into the marketplace that you're in a way that you're not, just, by nature of their business. And it's always good to talk to a professional.
Adam, it's been so great, and Erin, thank you both so much valuable information, and I have to stop myself from butting in more than I have, because we can just keep on going. And but the fantastic thing is that they're both available for one-on-one time. There were some logistic questions, so I wanted to get to those before we wrap things up. And Adam, if you could, thank you. You preempted me, made me the host again. So I am posting the videos on the sierracommons.org Igniter resources page. It just takes me a day lag time with uploading and processing and downloading and all that stuff. But the first 2 classes are up there. I will send the text chat via email to you. I want to keep that private. I don't want to publish that online. So that's that. And then also on the resources page, there's a little part that says Rebound Consultant Team and a PDF. And you can click and download the PDF, and it will have all the contact information and more on each of the available Rebound consultants that are making themselves available to you. Tomorrow, we're going to just starting at about, I think, 8, starting at near the beginning of the class. We've invited as many of those people on that list to talk. Erin and Adam, of course, they've already kind of made themselves available, and you have a good sense of who they are. Corey from yesterday is also on that list, I believe. So these are going to be some people you haven't heard from that are available to you. You have their contact information. You're going to see their face. And it's like you can lead a horse to water. I'm not calling you horses, but those are the resources. And I haven't been emphasizing this enough, that the idea behind this class is not, oh, I want to learn a little bit about e-commerce. No, this is like, get yourself online, start selling now. Like, this is important. The survival of your business will depend on it. There's no denying that even if it's not your primary business, you're gonna need online commerce to do what your passion is telling you to do in your business and make a living for you and your family. You need to get online. That's not debatable. And so, I have worked with thousands of businesses and different entrepreneurs. And there are the people that are, oh, I haven't launched my website yet. The color's not right. I haven't launched my website yet. I haven't decided what font. This is the one I love to use. The font on my business card doesn't match the font on my website. Well, I'm telling you, you don't even need a business card anymore. I don't want to touch your business card. I'm sorry. I don't. Don't give me your business card. Give me your URL. Send me a link. I'm interested in your product. I want to buy it. So this is time sensitive. Right now, you're having these, you've committed to these classes. Good on you. I really commend you on that. You have a whole team of consultants that are going to fill the gaps for you that maybe you're not the best copywriter. Tomorrow, Mike Morris is going to be here, and he just gives a killer presentation about writing. He's so good, and he's available to you. There's all these people that are available to you. We have the whole Small Business Development Center and all of their professionals. This is all free to you. As Sierra Commons, I don't know what more we can do to get you online. I just want to rattle your cage and say what it takes is you to do this work. Yes, you've come 8:30 to 10:30, fantastic, good on you. What I want to see is emails from you saying, check it out, I got my first thing online. Check it out, I've just made my first sale. I am so stoked. I can't believe it. I don't know what else we can do. The ball is in your court. As a community, the Rebound consultant team, which spans the chambers of commerce and downtown association and the cities, and everyone is behind you. Everyone wants to see your site online. Everyone believes that you can do this. And now it takes hours of work. And why spread that out over months and months and months, and then have that feeling of being a failure because, oh yeah, I've been working on it for 3 months. Just do it. Just get on Facebook, get on Instagram, start selling. Yes, you're working on your website. Yes, you have bigger plans, but just really just put the time into it and do it. That's the attitude. I would love it if everyone in this class was, by the end of August, is like, I am selling online. I might not have made my first sale, but I could make my sale. It's there. I've got it all set up. So I'm counting on you to do this. It's of utmost importance. So there is my, rally the troops. But I really believe it in my heart. I want to see you do this. I know you're driven. You have passion. You want to bring this into the world. and we're behind you. And now it's going to take that hard work to get it going. So I'm going to leave you with that. We're going to have the consultants here tomorrow. We're going to have copywriting, just really nuts and bolts about how to talk about your product or service. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about operations, and that is going to be the day tomorrow. And it's super, super fun and super cool to have you all here. So I really appreciate the time and the stepping outside your comfort level to do this. It's inspiring me. So thank you very much. And I'll take emails, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.